That was Democrat Eric Swalwell saying if he is elected governor of California, he's somehow going to take away the driver's licenses for ICE. That's against the law and it's unconstitutional. Plus, he's claiming he's going to prosecute them. And then that was top Trump official Stephen Miller saying ICE officers face death threats every day as Democrats side with criminal organizations. Look who's here, the host of the terrific Larry Elder Show, the one and only host, Larry Elder. Larry, it's great to see you. First, what do you make of Eric Swalwell here? He's citing his work on Trump-Russia with Adam Schiff as his bona fides. What do you think?
Well, I think we ought to consider the source. He's one of these brain-dead, Trump derangement syndrome infected Democrats. But Liz, the bigger picture is this. I recently read an article in which the then acting ICE director under Obama explained why you didn't have this kind of drama during his administration when, as you know, Obama deported twice as many people as Trump has deported so far. And he concedes that the best place to find these illegal aliens are in jails, in prisons, and we were given access to jails and prisons. He also said the explosion
under Obama.
He also said the explosion of sanctuary jurisdictions, cities, and states started because of Obama, and this was without 5, 10, 15 million, I think around 15 million illegal aliens allowed in the country intentionally in the last 4 years. So Obama was allowed to have access to the jails and prisons. Obama did not have the resistance because they had this kind of access, didn't have to put people in the streets. And this was without the infusion of millions of people, of illegal aliens coming during the last 4 years of the Biden administration. So it's night and day because of the way ICE was allowed to go to jails and prisons during the Obama years.
Yeah, and so you didn't see the action on the streets. That's what's going on. The action on the streets now because of ICE arrests and deportations when it was done behind the scenes in jails, as even Democrat officials allowed ICE in jails under the Obama White House. But, you know, here's the other thing. The other story is Eric Swalwell faces a lot of trouble from a new lawsuit filed by conservative filmmaker Joel Gilbert. He says Swalwell cannot run for governor of California. Why? Because Swalwell doesn't live in California. He cites as his home address in California a lawyer's office. His real residence, where he's there most full-time, is his family's $1.2 million 6-bedroom house in Washington, D.C. What do you think of that controversy?
Now, I haven't seen the lawsuit, but I have heard about it. It wouldn't surprise me. A lot of these politicians claim that they live somewhere and they live somewhere else. So, but again, if Eric Swalwell does not become a senator of California, one of these other brain-dead lefties will, so it won't matter. People are leaving California for all sorts of reasons, not least of which are the kinds of policies that people like Eric Swalwell and the other Democrats are pushing. So it won't really matter in California.
Thank you so much, Larry Elder. It's great to see you.